Hi guys, jokes aside, my name is Uzama Skakane. I'm a speech therapist. Welcome back to this video. I'm absolutely thrilled. To say I'm thrilled, brimming with joy, is actually an understatement. South Africa has just crowned its first Miss South Africa who's deaf or hard of hearing. Basically, Mia has a hearing loss. She's 28. What an inspiring moment for all of us, especially for all of us who are speeches, audio, or anyone working in the disability sector and who's speaking about issues of inclusion. So Mia was diagnosed with a profound hearing loss. According to what I found out, she was diagnosed with a profound hearing loss at just 1 year old. That speaks to early detection and early identification, which I spoke about on my other video, where I said, how do we use our Road to Health chart to actually check if our children have disability? So if you have not checked that video out, please go visit it so that you can see what I'm talking about. But she was diagnosed at 1 year old. And then she didn't allow her disability to actually stop her from, or just her disability being a limiting factor for her. I liked what she said. She said in her victory speech, she said, her hope or her success would inspire others who feel excluded to pursue their wildest dream, just as she did. So Maya's story is not just a story, but it's actually a powerful reminder that our differences can be our greatest strengths. So after the whole shebang, we crown her, we are all excited. Obviously, you know that social media is going to be brimming. So one of the other things that I'd noticed was people started speaking about her speech and they were like, no, why is she speaking differently? So I thought I should shed light today on terms of what is a hearing loss, so that we may understand what is making her speech to sound different than a normal speech that we are used to. So let's take a moment to actually understand hearing loss and how it can affect speech and communication. So hearing loss can be categorized into 3 categories. You get a conductive hearing loss, you get sensory neural hearing loss, and then you actually get a mixed hearing loss. So what is a conductive hearing loss? A conductive hearing loss is when there is a problem either in the outer ear or the middle ear that prevents sound from being conducted to the inner ear. This can be caused by many things. Some kids have works, they overproduce works. Others could be fluid in the ear. When you've got flu, most of the time you hear your ear almost itching. That is because, the disclaimer, this is not medical advice. But it is just to raise awareness. So if you want a diagnosis, please contact your audiologist or your speech and audiologist or your hearing aid acoustician who can do a whole assessment and then be able to diagnose you. But let's go back to conductive hearing loss. Most of our kids, whether they are like Nomi's 4 right now, she's had moments where she's got flu, and one of the things that I would see, her ear will itch, and especially if they've got flu and they snot and all of that, most of the time it will also affect their middle and outer ear. So when that happens, when that occlusion happens, or maybe the ear is producing a lot of works, sound doesn't travel. But I'll make sure that I've put like a diagram so that you can see it when I actually explain this fully. So when that happens, a child is diagnosed or an adult is diagnosed with a conductive hearing loss. Then you get what we call a sensory neural hearing loss. That is when there is damage to the inner ear or the actual or the auditory nerve. So the auditory nerve is the one that takes the impulse or the sound to the brain so that the brain can process the sound and know what to do with it. So if there is damage to that nerve, then you get someone called having a sensory neural hearing loss. This type of hearing loss is normally the one that is permanent. It's often the result of aging, exposure to loud noises. So one of the other times, I think Unhlanhla from Imafigizolo explained that she has a hearing loss. And the type, I'm not diagnosing her, but she's a musician. She's exposed most of the time this noise-induced hearing loss. People like musicians, people who works at the mines would have this type of hearing loss where because of so much exposure to loud noises, there's a vibration to the hair cells, and eventually they lose their elasticity, and then they have a noise-induced hearing loss. The audiologist will do the test, and actually there will be a different pattern in the audiogram. This is an audiogram, or something that explains, but I'll speak about it. We call this actually a speech banana. It speaks about how we perceive sound. So when I get to the degrees of hearing loss, this one will become more important so that you can understand why Mia's speech was sounding muffled. Okay, the mixed hearing loss, on the other hand, it's when you have both components of the conductive hearing loss and a sensory hearing loss. So then we go to what I call the degrees, because I said when I was reading her bio, it says that she had a profound hearing loss. So how do we then classify the degrees of hearing loss? You get mild hearing loss. So a normal hearing frequency, you are hearing at 25 decibels or below that. So when you can hear sounds that are at 25 decibels, so when you have done a hearing test, you would either be put in a booth with headphones and someone would present sounds that are at different frequencies. And then if you can hear it at 1,000 hertz, but at 25 degrees, then normally your hearing is normal. But you get others who cannot hear 25 decibels, who cannot hear 30 decibels. So those are in the category of a mild hearing loss. That person may have difficulty hearing soft sounds or understanding speech in noisy environment. Sometimes you see with our elder generation, as they lose their hearing, they say, when it's noisy, I can't hear. Or a kid, they would say to you, Mommy, when the teacher is talking and I'm sitting at the back of the class, I can't hear what they're saying. But when they put me at the front, normally I can pick up. Those normally have what we call mild hearing loss. Then you get the moderate hearing loss that may require the use of hearing aids so that they can understand normal conversation. Then on the other hand, it's severe hearing loss, which makes it difficult to actually understand and hear loud noises. Even with some hearing aids, this person's ability to understand speech may actually be challenged. Now I go over to the one that Maya has. She has a profound hearing loss. This means that the person may not be able to hear most sounds, even with the help of hearing aids, and may rely on visual cues or sign language for communication. If you recall the video, Bonang had to say to Maya, please turn around and read. And Maya was actually also depending on lip reading so that she can understand some of the things. She herself said she has received a lot of speech therapy and training, and that is how she has learned how to speak. Some of it, she even said when they were training her in one of the schools, which I'll mention, where parents can, they can take their kids, or which schools that I know in terms of SA for School for the Deaf. She's like, one of the things that they had to do when they were teaching how to speak is using her throat to feel some of the sounds. When you're speaking, they are voiced. So there's a difference when I say s, and there's a difference when I say z. So when I say s, it is voiceless, meaning there's less vibration in my throat. But when I say zzz, then there's a lot of vibration, and therefore I could also have a tactile feedback. So children or people with hearing loss, they don't have the auditory feedback. So that's how when they are learning speech, or when they are learning, like Maya hers was diagnosed at 1 year, that's why she could acquire some speech. Some kids, they do not acquire speech because they lack the auditory feedback. So they are able to make the sounds, but because they can't hear themselves, that's why the parent will come to you and to a speech therapist and say, my child was babbling at like 5 months and cooing, ba 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 ga 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 ga. But as soon as they hit 6 to 8 months, they stopped. And then when we do the assessment, we find out that the child has a hearing loss. That was the time where the child stopped using it, or stop being able to hear the sound, not being able to hear the sound, but that's when the child stopped receiving or being able to use the tactile feedback. But I'll go on, I'll explain that on some other time on another video. So I just wanted to speak about how speech or hearing loss can have a significant impact on the acquisition of speech. So when a child cannot hear clearly, they may struggle to learn new words, they may struggle to produce words, they may struggle to understand grammar and develop clear speech. So that is why even with her, when I read that she was diagnosed at 1 year, I was like, great, that means early intervention was done. And that is why early intervention is key to help children reach their full potential, which for her, she did. She's our Miss South Africa. Guys, I mean, can you ever? When I saw it, I was like, I've worked in special schools where some of my kids had hearing losses, and I know for a fact that when they hear her speak, they're gonna see themselves in her. And that is why I was like brimming with joy. Like, she's a true representation. Ati Umambata, be a true representation of a vision realized. So she's definitely that, and our kids with hearing loss and other disability would look at Maya and see themselves. So where can you take your child with a hearing loss in South Africa? So fortunately for South Africa, they've got wonderful schools that are dedicated to supporting deaf children. There is Sizwile School for the Deaf, there's St. Vincent School for the Deaf, Fountain School for the Deaf, Ekurhuleni School for the Deaf, and these schools actually provide a specialized education so that they can empower deaf children or those with hard of hearing. So if you want to take your child to this, go to your nearest district with all the medical information that your child has been diagnosed with a hearing loss. The earlier the child gets admitted, the better for the services to happen. Do not stop taking your child for their assessment and therapy in various government settings. So what are the hospitals that you may find yourself assistant in? Some kids may not benefit from hearing aids and they require a specialized intervention, what we call your cochlear implant. So it's a specialized service. They will do an operation and implant because now you have a sensory neural hearing loss where your cochlea, which is in your inner ear, has been damaged. So they will replace that and put on a new cochlear implant, a different procedure. Like I said, I'm just doing it at a very high level so that we may understand. So government-wise, the places where I know where they offer these services, it's places like your Chris Hani Parakwana, your Nkosi Albert Lutuli, your Nkwelezane, and they offer this life-changing procedure. They're giving individuals with profound hearing loss a chance to experience sound. I cannot attest or say that Maya has potentially had the cochlear implant. I can't say that because I haven't seen a medical record, but that is one of the devices or the tools other than hearing aids that people with hard of hearing benefit from. Apple is also releasing or has released some of its first or among the first hearing aids. So there are a lot of companies like now with the hearing aids that they've released that they can be slot or you can actually control your hearing aids on your phone. So the hearing aid industry is becoming more innovative and more accessible to like a lot of people who previously could not access it. But government wise, I'm in Joburg. That's like roughly the place, but should you want more information, I'll find out and link places where you can have your hearing assessment done in a government hospital. Most hospitals do have an audiologist or a speech and audiologist who can then do your assessment and also issue hearing aids and do auditory rehabilitation. So I'm so happy. Maya's story is not just a celebration, but it is actually a celebration of diversity and inclusion. It's a call to all of us to be more inclusive. Let's educate ourselves about hearing loss and speech intelligibility instead of mocking and making assumptions. Let's also learn to communicate better with those who are deaf or hard of hearings. One of the ways that we can do that is actually learning sign language. Sign language, the 12 official languages that has been announced. Remember last year, our President Cyril Ramaphosa actually announced that sign language is the 12 official languages. And by doing that, he was actually recognizing the importance of communication for everybody. So schools now offer sign language. Schools like St. Vincent have been offering sign language, but even like as it filters down, You get other schools. I know there was a pilot project or a project happening where schools in like learners in grade 5 could pick sign language so that there will be more awareness about sign language. So go out there and learn sign language. That's one word that I'm teaching you on this video. So let's take inspiration from Maya and strive to create a world where everyone, I mean everyone, regardless of their ability, can pursue their wildest dreams. Thank you for watching, and let's continue to support and celebrate each other's differences. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and create an inclusive environment for whoever you meet who's differently able. Thank you.